2 of them have serious injuries. Mark Thomas, area manager of Merseyside Fire and Rescue Service, told us that investigations remain underway.
Firefighters worked with emergency service colleagues at scene to stabilise the vehicle. We ensured the scene was safe and we assisted casualties exiting the bus. Working jointly with our police and ambulance colleagues, shortly after we were able to assist the casualties onto a second coach to receive care away from the scene. Our operations are currently scaling down, and currently we stay at the scene in attendance to preserve the scene with Merseyside Police.
A 17-year-old boy charged with the murder of a 15-year-old girl has been remanded in custody after appearing in court. Eliane Andam was stabbed to death in Croydon on Wednesday while she was on her way to school. The teenager, who can't be named for legal reasons, has also been charged with possessing a knife. A man's reportedly been arrested in the United States over the murder of the rapper Tupac Shakur. It happened back in 1996. The 25-year-old was killed in a drive-by shooting in Las Vegas. That's 27 years ago. Well, Dwayne Keffy D. Davis was detained earlier today. An indictment with the exact charges is expected later. Davis has long been known to investigators. He has previously admitted in interviews he was in the Cadillac when the shots were fired. And rail passengers are facing a week of travel chaos because of strikes and other forms of industrial action. ASLAF members began a ban on overtime today. That will last for 8 days until next Friday, ahead of a strike at 16 train companies tomorrow and on Wednesday, bookending the Tory party conference in Manchester. The union says tomorrow's walkout will force operators to cancel all services. Mick Whelan, ASLEF's General Secretary, says his members haven't had a pay rise for 4 years. The rail delivery group and the government say there remains a fair and reasonable offer on the table. This is GB News. We'll have more on all of our stories as we go through the evening. I'll be back in an hour's time. And now it's over to Patrick.
Well, this is all rather unexpected, isn't it? But welcome back to the programme. I'm Patrick Christys with you until 9 p.m. tonight, and it's been a very heavy week for a variety of different reasons. But look, it's Friday night, so we are going to start with a good old-fashioned row, and then we're going to have some fun with some shamelessly light-hearted segments, OK? Let's get going. Home Secretary Suella Braverman hit the headlines this week with her speech on migration in Washington. The Home Secretary thinks the international asylum system needs a complete overhaul. Here's a little bit of it.
Any attempt to reform the Refugee Convention will see you smeared as anti-refugee. Similar epithets are hurled at anyone who suggests reform of the ECHR or its court in Strasbourg. I reject the notion that a country cannot be expected to respect human rights if it is not signed up to an international human rights organisation.
OK, well, I think that the Home Secretary may well have a point, not just on that, but on a variety of different reasons, on a huge amount of what she said. But I know 2 people who feel completely differently. We've got human rights lawyer Shoaib M. Khan and Michael Walker, contributing editor at Novara Media. Good evening, gentlemen. Thank you very, very much for joining me. Now, look, Shoaib, has she got a point? We need to change the definition of what a refugee is so that, lawyers like you can't keep coining it in with spurious claims.
No, I mean, I don't think we need to. It's, it's been decades, 70 years we've had it. It's working well. Where it isn't working well is because governments don't know how to make it work well. But even from the Home Secretary's point of view, I'm not really sure what she's saying. Initially, it was all about the definition is wrong. We have to rip up the Refugee Convention. And then half of the second half of the speech is all about lefty, loony, liberal judges who interpret it too broadly. So what does she want? Is she actually saying there's a problem with the convention, or is it the judges?
Yes.
And then
yes, she literally is saying that. That's exactly what she's saying, Shoaib. It's good to see that you've been paying attention. Michael, I'll throw it over to you. Now, look, one of the other bits that she said that caused a huge amount of controversy was about members, allegedly, of the LGBTQ plus community who may well end up be making that up in order to get asylum. How on earth could we prove if somebody was gay?
Yeah, I'll get onto that in one moment. First of all, I did just want to mention, I know this is different for you being here on a Friday night. It's also different for me because I always look up who I'm going to be on with. It's normally some right-wing crackpot. I discovered I was going to be on with a human rights lawyer. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
It's more balanced than Newsnight, this, isn't it?
You got the heebie-jeebies from Ofcom today. Let's talk about that claim. So, LGBT migrants, I mean, we talked about this earlier in the week, in fact.
Yep.
I think this whole thing is a distraction. And the reason I say that is because the number of people who mentioned they were LGBT when it came to asylum claims last year was 1.5% of them. So if what Suella Braverman cares about is reducing the number of asylum seekers coming to the UK, now I don't want to do that, but if that's what she wants to do, then this has nothing to do with that. So to me, what this seems like is an attention-grabbing stunt to try and raise fears, one, about LGBT people lying about their sexuality, and two, about this idea.
But the point is, Michael, is whilst it might be a small number, Michael, we can't actually prove it, can we? As Gary Lineker evidenced with a rather bizarre tweet saying, how on earth would you prove if somebody's gay? And that is, to be fair, the point that she's making, isn't it?
Well, I think the problem there is, so when people apply for refugee status in this country for LGBT issues, you don't just come and say, I'm gay. Often what has happened is that person has suffered persecution in that country. So it will often be that the person has been outed as LGBT and there has been some sort of campaign against them. So there often will be lots of evidence. And I think we normally accept that you can evidence having a long-term relationship. You don't want to be putting cameras in people's bedrooms. But I think the idea that we have to remove LGBT issues from asylum is just having everything back to front.
OK, Shoaib, multiculturalism has failed. Discuss.
Well, like lots of people have discussed, in a way, is it the success of multiculturalism we have people like her leading? Or is it, in fact, do we have to
that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a good point.
Failure.
Let me ask this, Shoaib, sorry to interrupt you immediately, but you raise a really good point, which is why I'm doing it, right? She got a huge amount of pushback on this, and a lot of that, actually, was from people who are also ethnic minorities for saying, kind of really, that they think that she should think a certain way, really. And I just wondered what you thought about that. Do you think that's fair? Is she the definition of a successful multicultural individual who has managed to, her family has come to Britain and done rather well, or not?
No, so that's the point. If her problem, taking her on her premise, multiculturalism has failed, then, just look around the cabinet. Is she saying that's a failure? Is she saying that's a failure of our system, that people like her have risen to the top? So that's just a question I think she needs to answer. But of course, I don't believe. I think, diversity needs to be valued. Immigrants make a huge contribution to the UK. That needs to be valued. So no, of course, multiculturalism hasn't failed. And secondly, even if there are problems, that's because we don't allow them to integrate. Also in a speech, he said, all these people coming here, then they claim benefits. Well, of course they're going to claim benefits. They're not allowed to work. Why are asylum seekers not allowed to work? We put them in detention centres, we put them in hotels.
We have spoken before, Shoaib. We have spoken before, Shoaib, and you didn't even make the point to me, to be fair, that even if somebody broke into your house and you found them sitting there at about 4 o'clock in the morning, you might call the police, but you wouldn't necessarily even want that person detained. So you are possibly the most liberal person that I have ever come across, I think, because I think that's quite a rare thing. Michael, I'm going to ask you, is it that multiculturalism hasn't been allowed to work, we haven't allowed people to integrate, or is the reality that in certain communities they just won't integrate?
No, I think this discussion has sort of come out of nowhere. Now, I came from a very multicultural part of northeast London. My school was incredibly diverse, sort of a third black people, third South Asian, then a third white people. I didn't really realise racism existed until I was about 18 because everyone got along so well. And it seems to me that this is really people trying to make problems where there aren't. Now, maybe there are some problems of integration in parts of the country. But the reason I think the ethnicity of Suella Braverman is sometimes brought up is not to say that if you are of a certain ethnic minority background, you have to have certain opinions. I think what people are saying is Suella Braverman has just as many rights to be against multiculturalism as anyone else in the country. But the fact that we do have so many people from ethnic minorities in the cabinet does suggest that integration is actually going quite well. And what you often get in response is people saying, oh, yes, but this is because Suella Braverman is integrated into British society. Now, I saw a really good response from a journalist sort of saying, yes, that's true, but my granddad wasn't. When my granddad came over, he spoke Yiddish, he didn't speak any English, he was not integrated at all. But me, now I'm a Times columnist, right? So the idea that there are some new immigrant communities where someone doesn't speak English, fine, their kids will, and their kids will be integrated, and it will be a similar multicultural environment from where I grew up, which was brilliant.
Shoaib, what Suella Braverman said was that the overwhelming majority of people who come to Britain illegally never end up paying back in tax what they've taken from the state. Under the illegal migration bill, pretty much anybody who comes across the channel will be classed as an illegal migrant, therefore none of them will actually end up being a net benefit, very few of them will end up being a net benefit to Britain. Is that not true?
Of course that's not true, and that's, literally every piece of research carried out has proved the opposite. So, I mean, and that's the thing about this speech. Obviously, we knew it was going to be rhetoric. Obviously, we know it's, mainly her leadership campaign. But the point is, even the facts that, the few facts and statistics that were there, that they're really not borne out by the facts or by the research. Every single piece of research carried out
quote some
economic benefits shows that immigrants are a net.
All right, okay, fine. Quote some. Just give me the name of a bit of research.
Oh, well, the LSE, the UCET, almost every. I mean, and that's the whole point, because they're not necessarily recent. Over decades, every single research has said that immigrants are economically a net benefit to this country.
You're mixing it up there, though, aren't you? From immigrants to illegal migrants. Look, but both of you, thank you very much. Can I genuinely thank you for being at the top? I can tell you're distressed, Michael, but we've got other shows to go on, so we're out of time. All right, take care, guys. Have a good Friday night. All right, I'll see you in a bit. Thank you very much. That is Shoaib Khan, of course, immigration lawyer, human rights lawyer, I should say, and Michael Walker from Novara Media. Now it's time for you to meet my brilliant panel this evening. We've got broadcaster Charlie Lamdin, he's here, and political commentator Lynn Mai is on her way, so isn't here yet, remarkably, but no doubt we'll be getting rather a lot of stick when she does rock up late. Train strikes probably kicking in a day early, at least that's her story, and she's sticking to it. But also, as well, the budget for this type of show only goes so far. And so it's a good evening to Aidan McGee. Aidan, what do you make of the Home Secretary's speech? Do you think she's got a point? We had two rabid left-wingers on there who think that, hey, it was all rubbish and everything's fine. 780 million people on the way to the Western world. Not a problem.
Well, I do think they made some quite good points, actually, stuff that I hadn't really necessarily considered. I do think multiculturalism works in certain parts, with certain communities coming from certain regions of the world. I do business all over the country, and I see it working in action, working well. I see it working less effectively. But listen, even if she's got a point, it's tough talk. She's going to be pulled back into line by a very centrist Conservative government, a very centrist cabinet around her. It's tough talk ahead of an election. None of what she promises will happen, I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I mean, I worry not so much about the numbers. I mean, she rattled off a huge amount of numbers. She was talking about how we're going to need 213,000 new school places, 1 in 5 children born now are born to foreign mothers. She mentioned the housing crisis. She did also mention the democratic argument, by the way, that she said that 72% of European Union citizens wanted the European Union to have more control over its external borders. She said 50% of Americans thought that what was going on at the southern border was, quote, an invasion. She was trying to make the international picture there. But I'll just bring you in now and just ask you, what do you think about the cultural side of it, Charlie? Is there, aside from the numbers, is Britain changing too quickly or not for you, do you think?
Well, bring the cultural side in. I think the one thing about human nature is anyone, anywhere, is going to do what they can to improve their lives. And as you see all around the world, this kind of immigration is increasing in very large numbers for America, for all of Europe, for us as well. You could ask, well, why? What's the cause of that? Because if you don't address the root cause of that, it's never going to stop.
I think the cause of it is that our country's better.
That's the perception. Yeah, well, definitely it's better than where a lot of them are coming from, that's sure.
Yeah.
But the speech, as I understood it, was basically saying there is a myriad of legal hurdles to overcome before we can change anything about what's happening. There've been years of talk about this, almost nothing's been achieved. And the point that she makes, which is that the Convention on Human Rights from 1951, was it, is 70 years old, and the world's changed a lot since then. For example, they didn't have cheap, accessible international aviation back then, and so the movement of people around the world now
But you also didn't have phones. You didn't have mobile phones. You didn't have the internet. You couldn't, spend your life on Instagram or whatever, or TikTok, looking at what a brilliant life it is, contacting a human trafficker, getting yourself over here, doing whatever. The world is a very different place. What I will say is that I just think it's fascinating that we've had to have a Home Secretary stand up and try to convince the world and people in it of what I would argue is just being some very obvious facts, which is the world has changed massively since this piece of paper was drawn up, and the situation has changed. And if we don't actually change the definition of it, there are around 780 million people who could conceivably decide that they're going to come to Britain or the Western world, and there's not a lot we can do about that. And, lo and behold, then the rest of the world, like the UN, turned around and went, we're not going to do anything about it. And I think, well, fine, but if you look around another 40 or 50 years, then don't blame Britain for the state of the world. You will be pleased to know that Lynn Mai has entered the building. She's not in the studio just yet. Now, look, we've got the serious part of this show out of the way, OK? We had to ground it in a little bit of news sense, so we thought we'd have a row. Which means we can now have loads of fun, so don't go away, because loads of fun to come tonight with the panel, including The Spin Room, Round Your Parts, the Missing Words Quiz, tragically no dog of the week, that's all to come. And I've also been out and about to ask the British public what they think about reports that the United States government are about to announce the arrival of aliens. Let's take a look. If aliens watch this now, what would you say to them?
Bring peace, save the world. Hello, aliens!
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christys, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christys, on GB News and GB News Radio.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News, unlike other broadcasters, isn't obsessed with the London-Westminster bubble. We think there's a nation beyond the M25, and that's why we talk about the issues that matter across the land. Join me on State of the Nation, 8 to 9 o'clock, Monday to Thursday, on GB News. Daisy's listening, and you should too.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You are watching or listening to me, Patrick Christys, on GB News on a Friday night. It's just gone 20 past 8. Now, loads to come tonight, including the brilliant Round Your Parts, where we take a look at the best of local news and our revolutionary new Missing Words game show. Never been done before this. Never been done before. But it's time, myself and my brilliant panel, Lynn Mai, yes, she is here. Hello, Lynn.
Hiya.
Nice of you to join us. Charlie Lambden and Aidan McGee as well. We entered the Spin Room. So this is the place where good stories, good news stories, turn bad and bad ones turn good, all with the help of a little bit of spin. So let's start with this one, shall we? Sycamore Gap. OK, so there we go. Shoots could regrow from felled tree, says Trust. Look, I mean, that is, of course, a wonderful, heartwarming story. This mighty tree next to Hadrian's Wall in Northumberland, one of the most famous in the UK, was chopped down on Wednesday night. OK, so that is an overtly bad news story. Terrible news story. It's disgraced the nation. Absolutely shocking stuff. But the good news is, OK, that the stump is healthy, new shoots may grow and be able to grow from this stump. So I wanted, Charlie, for you to try to spin this bad news story into a good news story for me, please.
You mean the good news into bad news?
Do whatever you want.
Right.
Yeah, fine, there we go. Do it.
Well, I think this is shocking because I think what actually happened is that the NIMBYs 200 or 300 years ago when that tree was planted were asleep at the wheel, and it's an eyesore. I mean, it's a clear blot and an obstruction to the beautiful view there. So the fact they're going to grow a new tree there is terrible news.
OK, so you actually think, you think genuinely that they should just get that tree in a wood chipper straight away and never actually do anything else with it?
Yeah, it's like, that's how it should have been all along.
It's
a
an
blot
eyesore.
on the landscape.
Do you believe a 16-year-old really did it?
Well, we can't possibly say that.
No, we can't. But I mean, it's not been properly
alone.
investigated. You've got to get special branch involved, haven't you?
Oh, there he is. I mean, it's non-stop with Aidan McGee, isn't it? So, OK, so you basically are of the view that this was always an eyesore, it's an overrated tree, and that it's a good thing that this thing has been felled.
Yeah, and it would be bad news if they grow a new one.
And it would be bad news if they grew a new one. OK, right. Well, let's see what the next topic, of course, is in the spin room. Rishi Sunak hints that he could scrap the Manchester leg of HS2 and suggests that the money could be spent on fixing potholes, right? Wonderful. So, we are abandoning an ambitious plan of infrastructure which could have had a transformative effect in our economy and levelling up ambitions. Are we instead doing something equally bold and visionary? No, we are going to fix a few bumpy roads. Now, I really doubt that anybody could make a positive out of this absolute stinker, all right? But amidst three miserable old gits, Lin Mai is a ray of optimism and light. If you can spin this, you deserve a medal. Go on.
Well, I think it's absolutely fantastic that he's going to scrap this. I mean, why on earth would people from Manchester and Birmingham want to come to crime-riddled, polluted London when they're such fantastic cities? And for the simple fact that you are going to be ploughing through loads of nature, why would you do such a thing? It's cost millions already. It's a failed project. Why would you ever continue a failed project? It's a brilliant idea.
So you think it's fantastic? I mean, yeah, this is the other argument that I think rarely gets brought up, which is that in order to have ploughed ahead with HS2, we would have had to have carved up the British countryside. I mean, rare species of newt have been saved as a result of this, and that's what we care about, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. I knew someone who was involved in the planning stages of it 10 years ago, and they said that literally villages are going to be mowed down by this whole HS2 project. So I've been worried about that ever since.
And think about people with sciatica. Filling those potholes.
Let's just think.
Think about the potholes. They're going to have nice, smooth journeys from now on.
Yeah, you see, this is the other thing, isn't it? This point never got made, did it? People with sciatica. You know, now they're all right because they're going to have smooth potholes, aren't they?
This is it.
Anything else?
Win-win.
Win-win. All right, fine. You have successfully spun that, OK? The total, complete and utter multi-billion-pound failure of our most but also least ambitious infrastructure project.
Do you give a verdict, though? Did you give a verdict of whether we spun it successfully or not?
You definitely spun it successfully.
Yeah.
You definitely spun it successfully.
I feel so.
That's worked out all right. Look, we're moving on now. We've got time to just spin one more thing, and it's time for our final topic in the spin room, OK? So, breakdown service. Passerby gets bride to church on time after the car fails. How lovely and wonderful is this? Sharon Travers was completely stranded en route to her wedding in Aberdeen when her car broke down. Enter Alan Knowles. Hero. He was flagged down while driving past the sorry scene and very kindly drove Sharon to the venue so all could go ahead as planned. A fantastic, undeniably uplifting story for a fun Friday night, and only the most heartless, unromantic fiend could have anything negative to say about that. Aidan McGee, over to you.
That's an absolute catastrophe for the British motoring industry. The Triumph Stag was such a great car, an iconic vehicle back in the 50s and 60s. This lady, getting to her biggest day of her life, couldn't even rely on this car to get her from A to B. Never mind A to B, it was from single life into a life of holy matrimony and peace and love for the rest of her life. Yeah. Instead, it was precision German engineering that came to the rescue in a Mercedes to get her to the church on time. Shame on Triumph. Rather than a Triumph, it's an absolute absolute disaster.
See, I thought, I mean, that is fantastic. Well done, by the way. That is remarkably done. I thought you were going to go down the marriage angle, Aidan, knowing you. I've got to be honest.
No.
I thought you were going to say
No,
something.
more interested in cars, as you know.
More interested in cars, yeah, fair enough. Okay, and I really had it. I really thought that you were going to go down the route. You know, half of marriages end in divorce. What's he done?
It's more than half.
He's got to, well, you would know. He's got to a lifetime of misery going forward, etc.
Marriage Grinch.
The marriage Grinch. Right, OK. I mean, look, you've done pretty well there, I must say, I think, to spin stories a variety of different ways, and I am very appreciative for it. If I had to decide a winner, then I'm going to go for Lynn Mai for the sciatica comment. I mean, yeah, again, it is time with HS2 that people do seriously think about people with sciatica, and now we'll be able to fill in some potholes, although I did like the fact that this is something that no one goes on about, right? That tree was ruining a good view. OK? It was ruining a good view. Now it's gone. Chip it, turn it into insulation. That's what I say. But, OK, so next on the show, this is where I go out and about and pester the public. So an unsuspecting passerby, or indeed passers-by in this case, are confronted with the terrifying prospect of speaking to me about, well, I was going to say an important issue of the day, but, yeah. This week, huge news from America. The Senate has passed an act that would require the disclosure of UFO evidence within a 300-day period. So, no massive rush, really, but the act would give government officers 300 days to collect records. Now, basically, if aliens are out there, do we want governments to be forced to tell us all? I certainly do, but who cares about that when we can get the collective wisdom of the great British public? Do you think governments should be made to tell us if we've been visited by aliens?
I've never thought about it. Yes.
Why?
Well, because we should probably know. Why keep it secret?
Are you afraid of aliens?
No.
If aliens are watching this, what would you say to them?
Please be nice to us.
Do you think governments should tell us if we've been visited by aliens?
Absolutely.
Why?
Because I think it's in the right of everybody to know if there is something more out there.
Are you afraid of aliens?
No, not at all.
Why not? You're not an alien, are you?
Who knows?
If aliens watch this now, what would you say to them?
Bring peace, save the world. Hello, aliens.
I'm not from here.
Where are you from? Not Mars, are you?
No, I'm from, yeah, it could be. We just don't know what's out there. Maybe they're not green.
So, would you want to know?
No.
You want to live in blissful ignorance?
Yeah, because you don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what they're going to do.
So, just by any chance, are you looking for aliens?
I'm trying to work out.
Do you think aliens exist?
Do aliens exist? No, I don't think so. No.
Do you think if they did exist, our government should ever tell us?
Yeah, I guess so, yes. Yeah.
What would you say to aliens if they were watching this right now? What would your message be?
I think we're all mad.
That we're all mad?
We're all mad, I think, yes.
That they should turn around and go somewhere else?
I think it might be better, yes.
Okay.
For their own protection.
Okay. Thank you. Have a great day. Oh, it's just a snapshot of me ruining some people's days there, but some very interesting takes. But what do my panel think? Aidan McGee, you still think QPR are going to have a good season, so you clearly believe in some quite remarkable phenomena, don't you?
Yeah, aliens, again, not something I've thought about that much, but I mean, you know, I remember listening to a radio show my mate used to present, and it was on a rival network, so I won't say which one, but I remember even saying, like, it's take over about midnight and everything would be normal. The callers would be quite sane people talking about football, whatever was going on. And then about 11:45, you get the alien weirdos calling in. Not actual aliens, but they'd be talking about sightings of UFOs and things like that. So the fact that so many people ring in and talk about it, there might be something out there. But as we know from a programme that was on in the 90s, the truth is out there.
Len, your view on aliens?
I think it's quite weird that this has come up because do you remember a couple of weeks ago there was all those in Mexico apparent aliens that looked like paper mache, to be honest.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think they should tell us because I don't think they'll tell us the truth. The only way they should tell us is if they wheel out an alien in front of us so we can interview him ourselves or her. Or
but enough about Joe Biden. Charlie, your view on this. So when I go out and ask people, the overwhelming majority of people couldn't give a toss about whether or not aliens exist. So I don't understand why there's this, like, fear of disclosing it to us, if indeed they do. Just tell us. Nobody cares.
They might come from a place where everything's much better. I mean, it could be brilliant. Who knows what
they might work out how to use an area on a car park, might they?
I'd want to say to them, can I come with you? Let's go and see where you guys come from. But I think it's also interesting with Elon Musk's plans to get us to Mars. We're going to be the aliens arriving on that planet.
Yeah, we are. Yeah. We are. I mean, I wonder how much damage we could do to Mars. I mean, before you know it, there's all sorts there. But anyway, right, coming up on the show, naked poo-faced criminals, cancer-free hot dogs and tall children being charged extra for their Chinese dinner. It's almost time for Round Your Parts, where we delve into the best of local news. I'm Patrick Christys on GB News, and this is Britain's News Channel.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Kerr, we tackle the issues of the day with real, robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views. And often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is 2 new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show, that's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back. You're watching or listening to me, Patrick Christys, on GB News. It's just gone 8:35. Still to come tonight, my panel will test their wits on our brilliant and completely and utterly, totally original, never-been-done-before missing words quiz. But first, it's time that we went around your part. So in this part of the show, we look at some of the slightly offbeat stories which are making headlines around the different regions of this wonderful nation. Local news is a fantastic, phenomenal thing. So, where else could we start but Stoke-on-Trent? Yep, that's right. And my lazy production team have told me to just read the first paragraph of this story in the belief that it absolutely can't be improved upon. So let's see if they're right, OK? A naked man with poo on his face was seen clutching a stolen bottle of bubble bath as he hid in a bush in a bizarre 8-minute police chase. Was brought to an end. Joseph, 7... was spotted performing a on himself as he made a nude sprint to Adderley Green after climbing out of his ex's bathroom window. Sorry, Charlie, I know you probably get tired of answering this, but have you ever been found naked in a bush clutching a bottle of bubble bath?
Couldn't possibly talk about it.
Have you ever been to Stoke?
No, but I did read the story. I don't know how much we can talk about, because did you see what he did once he actually got arrested?
He did, yes.
Yeah.
He will have to wash his hands and face, won't he?
Yes, he will. I mean, the story goes on to explain that apparently it was his disgruntled ex. But when you see about the way he behaved, not quite surprised that she didn't want to see anything to do with them anymore.
No, I mean, Aidan McGee, you are not many people... I know you don't like to go on about this, Aidan.
No.
Right, but you've got an extensive property portfolio.
I don't know if you could keep it on down low.
Yeah, exactly. And some of that property's in Stoke, isn't it? So what time are the cleaners rocking up?
I did have a cleaning query today, actually, but it wasn't related to this story. But no, as you know, I do a lot of business in Stoke, and I thought it was one of my tenants. But clearly this guy's doing his own business there this evening, isn't he?
Lovely.
Well, not this evening, it was this week, wasn't it?
It was this week, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, good. How disgusting, though, honestly. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
I mean, if one of my tenants did something like that, they'd be out. There were maggots found in a sink that belongs to me this afternoon. I had to sort it out.
Really?
It was, yeah. So not quite what we're talking to here, but still...
I will definitely turning you down for that dinner invitation there. I think. I don't know about you, Lynn, but I mean, you know, I've had some catastrophic relationships in the past, but none that have ended like that.
It's funny, actually. You've got property in Stoke. I just finished working for Stoke-on-Trent Council.
Really?
With their housing department.
You're not you're not investigating me, are you?
No.
Good.
Not home ownership. So I'm actually not surprised at this story when you look at some of the interesting characters up there.
Excuse me, we have a lot of viewers in Stoke. We have a lot of viewers in Stoke.
Not all, I won't generalise, but I'm actually confused as to how he even has a partner. Considering some of the things he was getting up to.
I like the fact that he's at least made the attempt to get hold of some bubble bath, but they're not done anything with it other than charge around with it in his hand. Like, look at this. Anyway, off to Sheffield next, and what could possibly go wrong? And the heart-rending tale of 11-year-old Joshua Cantrill. Now, Joshua's dad, Craig, says that he had to pay the full adult price of £22.50 instead of just a tenner for his son's meal, because the lad committed the mortal sin of being 5 foot tall. Even worse, staff at this joint actually measured young Joshua when he arrived before imposing their draconian price ruling on his plate of chow mein. I mean, this is just absolutely ludicrous, isn't it? Who should go to you first? Lynn, I'll go to you first on this. Look, should tall kids have to pay more for their food? So there's nothing wrong with making the pampered little brats endure a bit of hardship now and again, is there?
No, only if they're going to eat, I suppose, adult portions.
Can I just say, sorry, hang on a minute. I think the real crime here is this £22 for a chow mein. Yeah. But anyway...
£22?
Yeah, I'm just getting in my ear. It's an all-you-can-eat buffet. That changes everything. That changes everything.
Okay.
It's remarkable value.
Yeah, he was trying it on. He was trying his luck.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a remarkable value, though. It isn't, because... No, it isn't. It actually isn't, because, all right, it sounds like it's all you can eat, but when you go into any of those places and you pay whatever price you pay, there's only so much your stomach can take. If you actually look on a table how much food you've eaten and think, have you actually had £22.50's worth, I think in most cases the answer would be no.
OK, interesting. I mean, I know an old friend of mine called Patrick Christys who will beg to differ. There, Aidan. I don't know if my producers now have said that I might be able to end the show with a picture of Patrick Christys, but he was quite the chap. But, do you not think it's a bit draconian? So a child, literally, a child has walked into an all-you-can-eat buffet in Sheffield. The staff have got a measuring tape out and gone, you're over 5 foot tall, so you're paying full price.
It is a bit draconian, but then I can understand if he probably looks like he eats quite a lot.
Used to happen in the police. Used to happen in the police, though, Patrick, up until about 15, 20 years ago. You couldn't get into the police unless you're over a certain height, so, you know...
Heightist.
It's heightist, that's what it is.
Heightist.
Discriminated against.
How dare they?
It's been discriminated against, absolutely, and I bet it took the edge off that chow mein. Now, to the good people of Manchester, and news of some half-baked decision-making, because a historic pub in Greater Manchester is about to be demolished, despite the objections of angry residents. And what wonderful civic amenity is going to take its place? Could it be a library? Could it be a school? Could it be a doctor's surgery? Or a dentist? Hey, that would be of use. No, the Farmer's Arms is getting the boot in favour of a drive-through branch of Greggs. Grief. Aidan McGee, most people would be disgusted to see Greggs replace a historic pub, but knowing your diet, you probably think that's the right result.
No, what? Their apple turnovers are actually quite good value. No, they are. No, look, it's what the area wants, isn't it? I mean, I presume if that pub was doing well, it would be packed, and there'd be no need to get rid of it. Areas get what areas want. It's as simple as that. That's why the high street's changing so much. Let's be realistic. Let's embrace it. There's nothing wrong with Greggs. You can even get Greggs pyjamas now.
You can even get Greggs pyjamas, although, to be fair, have you seen the people who wear Greggs leggings?
Yeah, my niece and nephew do.
On that note, so, Charlie, I mean, look, there's a phrase, isn't there? You get the politicians that you deserve. I mean, do you get the cafes you deserve as well?
I think the people complaining about this can only blame themselves for not being down there drinking enough.
Very
Exactly.
If they'd been down there keeping it going, this wouldn't happen, would it? So
it's no different, Pat. When the mini metro got phased out in the 90s, everyone moaned about it. It's because no one bought it. If they did buy it, it would have been kept in circulation.
Terrible car.
Yeah,
that's probably why no one bought it, actually. Was that woman in that when she broke down on the way to a wedding? Maybe she was in a mini metro, I think, but there we go. We finish now with a tale of bold Brits making incredible scientific breakthroughs. Well, what's not to like about that, OK? So, Frank Goodness, British boffins invent first cancer-free hot dog. Yep, these bangers are free of deadly nitrates which can cause disease and, best of all, we have beaten the Germans to the punch. What a tale this is. I mean, Charlie, I suspect that you've consumed a few hot dogs in your time, have you? I mean, what do you make of this? The Germans apparently are livid.
I was at a Wurst festival on Millennium New Year's Eve, I'll never forget it. It was incredible. But I think it's terrible that they're taking the nitrates out of our lovely old traditional bangers.
Really?
No. It's progress, and one up over the Germans.
It's not the worst thing in the world, is it?
It's not the worst thing in the world.
Oh my God.
This guy, whatever we are paying Aidan, can we have that back? Right, is that all right?
They've got a receipt, don't worry.
I mean, you don't look like you're particularly well versed in
hot dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, that could have so many different meanings. But no, I don't know why the Germans are actually angry at this. Do they want everyone to have cancer?
No, well, no, and we've been on to the German Foreign Office, actually, who've strenuously denied that they want everyone to have cancer. No, the Germans are famous for sausage.
So? What's wrong with us adapting it for the better health?
Yeah, I think they just didn't want to admit that the Brits are better. The first, I mean, you can argue that the biggest story, of course, is that our economy is now outperforming Germany. But for the sake of this show,
they've still got the cars. They should be happy they've still got the cars.
They've still got the cars.
Yeah.
I think one in 4 cars on the motorways in the UK are German. Is that correct?
Well, quite possibly.
Probably.
Yeah. Quite possibly. Well, at least you've got your cars, Germany. There we go. Right, OK, so coming up on the show, it's our new quiz. Words fail me. Yes, we will see which of my panel is best at guessing the missing word from a selection of headlines. So stay tuned for that. Patrick Christys, GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Andrew Pearce and Bev Turner, Monday to Thursday, 9:30 a.m.
Who benefits from that? Not the British public.
And on Fridays, join us, Tom Harwood
and Ellie Costello from Britain's Newsroom.
That's what you get with this show. That's fantastic.
If it's happening, we're talking about it on Britain's Newsroom.
GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now then, Lee Anderson here. Join me on GB News on my show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m.
I'm not eating bloody cat. Are you
Delicious.
mental?
Open your mouth. OK, here comes a train. Reminds me of the scene in Singing in the Rain.
Adam, is that a good one?
Whoa! Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There will be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christys, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on TuneIn and the Radio Player apps. From the school run to rush hour, get revved up with me, Patrick Christys, on GB News and GB News Radio.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yes, welcome back. You're watching or listening to me, Patrick Christys, on GB News. Now, before we get to our final game of the night, let's see what some of you wonderful lot have been saying. So this has been in the inbox. Debbie says, great to have Patrick back on a Friday night. Thank you very much, Debbie. Don't know why he was taken off in the first place. Well, Debbie, you know, I can't really go into that, unfortunately, but it's safe to say I'm a better man now. Anyway, Amanda says, thank the Lord, Patrick is finally on in the evening segment. He's in his element. Please bring back Challenge Christys, GB News, the People's Channel. Challenge Christys was a feature I used to do on a show called Friday Night Feast, and potentially it could come back. It could come back. Who knows? Hey, it's all in the pipeline. Nothing's off the table. Now, it's time for our fun-packed Friday night quiz. Woo! After a week of late-night meetings featuring some of the greatest production minds on the channel, right? The Boffins, the Brains Trust. They have come up, OK, wait for this, people, yeah, with a game where they blur out a few headlines and the panel try to guess what they are. No swearing, please, panel. It's not quite 9 p.m. So, before we actually collect the BAFTA, we had better look at what our first headline is. This week's chosen publication is my personal favourite read, The Daily Star. They always do wonders on page 3. Kelly Clarkson yells blank and bolts off stage in wardrobe malfunction. Kelly Clarkson yells blank and bolts off stage in wardrobe malfunction. Charlie, judging by the way you dress, well, you've had a few wardrobe malfunctions in your time. Guess the missing word. Go.
Bazinga.
Bazinga? OK, yells bazinga and then lets it off stage. Lynn?
God damn it.
God damn it, fine, just about quivering on the edge of swearing there. Nice, Lynn. Go on, Aidan.
I just don't know, I'm sorry.
You just don't know, I'm sorry. No? No, fair enough. OK, literally couldn't come up with a word there.
Is it one word? I thought, because it looked like a sentence, you see, behind it.
Kelly Clarkson yells, my boob's showing, and bolts off stage in wardrobe malfunction. So there we go, those words.
See, I would have thought that was too rude. I wouldn't have said that.
Really?
You never know these days, do you?
Yeah, it's a lottery, isn't it? It is a lottery. OK, so let's move on to our second headline, right? Our second headline. Now, this is an all-too-familiar scenario, OK? Woman stunned after spotting blank in limescale on her works cattle. That is, woman stunned after spotting blank in limescale on her works cattle. Now, Len, do you any ideas? Any ideas what you think that could be?
Spiders.
Spiders?
Yeah.
Now, I'm being told that we can bring up a picture of this cattle. Is that right? So let's get rid of the strap. There we go. Right, OK, so this is the cattle. We can see the lime scale around the spout there. So bear in mind, woman stunned. Woman stunned, Aidan, after spotting blank on cattle. Aidan.
Face of poo-faced man in Stoke.
Napoleon.
So you're going Napoleon now, which is rogue.
Face of poo-faced
man in Stoke. OK, Charlie?
Jesus' face.
Jesus. Jesus. OK. Right, well, there we go. I think we can reveal the result, can we? Can we reveal it? Woman stunned after spotting Keith Richards in limescale on her works cattle. Can we bring the kettle back up again? Can we? Let's bring it back up in just a tick. I think we might be able to see the offending cattle in the face of a rampant old rocker in just a second or two. Normally, you're right, though. Normally, it is Jesus, isn't it? Normally, it's always like Jesus or Elton John. There we go. Keith Richards.
Jesus or Elton John, did you say?
Jesus or Elton John, yeah. Elton John's on my toast. That's usually one that's in the Daily Star, so there we go. I don't know if anyone else can see Keith Richards there, but there we go. Shall we move it on to our next headline? It's another situation that we could all identify with. Tourist arrested by Taliban living in luxury as he claims his captors like X. That's tourist arrested by Taliban living in luxury as he claims his captors like X. OK, so if you need to know a little bit about a life of luxury, you need to look no further than Aidan McGee. What do you reckon it is, mate?
It's got to be Elton John.
Elton John. So you think the Taliban like Elton John? That's what you're going for?
Yeah, possibly. I know something about Elton John. He doesn't like. He definitely doesn't
Rocket
like.
Man. Rocket Man.
You my joke.
No. Oh, whatever.
You my joke.
Len, what do you think the Taliban like?
Child bride.
Oh, strong. You have played that completely straight down the line, Len.
Sorry.
Completely straight down the line. Charlie?
Jammy Dodgers.
Jammy Dodgers, that's more like it. See, right, Lynn, I'm not being funny, right? Don't know if you got the premise for this, right? But that's the stuff we're after. Right, OK. Let's see what this is now. Tourist arrested by Taliban living in luxury as he claims captors like child, but no, Titanic movie. Titanic movie. There we go. Okay.
None of us were close, are we?
None of you were close. No. None of you were close to any of these. But of course, that is the way that it is. But I must say, I think that's interesting. I mean, the idea that this guy now has been captured by the Taliban, right? And he's saying that he's living in luxury. I question, Aidan, how luxurious life. I mean, I suppose some of your tenants feel like they'd rather be with the Taliban, don't they?
No, not at all. No, maybe today when you found some maggots in the sink, but goodness me, it was a three-line whip. I sorted them out. I messaged every single tenant in that property and I said, I want direct action now. Believe me, I got it.
Yeah, exactly. And the Titanic, of all things, for the Taliban, because they are far from a sinking ship. I mean, they've just regained a country, haven't they? You know?
Yeah, it's a curious choice, if that's what you said. Yeah, maybe it's just Kate Winslet.
Maybe it's Kate Winslet. Maybe that's what it is. Are you a fan of the Titanic?
Used to be, but...
Now you've gone off it, now the Taliban are into it.
a bit over it now.
Yeah, no, it's the kind of thing that turns you off it a bit, I think, doesn't it? When you find out, the Taliban like it, you've got to kind of keep it quiet after that, I think, haven't you?
Why would you like anything they like?
Why would you like anything they like? Yeah, exactly. No, that's right. OK, so now it is time for our final headline, where we are entering the scary world of social media, right? TikTok viewers baffled by viral blank trend and it exposes men. So that is TikTok viewers baffled by blank trend and it exposes men. Lynn, I think you're the only one among us with any hope of getting this one, apparently. I've not seen it. There you go. Any ideas?
I'm going to do what you did earlier, pass.
You've gone blank, quite literally.
Poo face trend.
Poo face, yeah, fine. OK, you.
You're really stuck on this.
Pube shaving, that is interesting. TikTok viewers baffled by viral Roman Empire trend and it exposes.
Again, we weren't close, really.
There we go.
We're not.
OK, right, we're going to finish with even more chaos. And if you've not had enough tonight, this is a segment where we play out interviews with the great and the good, but we tell you what, in our opinion, they are really thinking, OK? We are starting with the PM, Rishi Sunak's wife, Akshata Murthy. Now, she recently told some kids on Sky News about how much she really thoroughly enjoys living at 10 Downing Street. But we think that she may have been concealing her real feelings. So this is what we think she was really saying.
How do you think I feel? I've got more money than King Charles, and because my stupid husband wanted to be Prime Minister of this silly little country, I've ended up living in a giant house that's haunted by Margaret Thatcher and decorated by Boris Johnson's latest wife.
It feels like a museum walking through it.
Like a museum? It looks like Coco the Clown threw up in here. I could only assume that Carrie was born without a tongue because she has no taste whatsoever. You know what I say to Rishi? I want you to lose the next election. I want you to lose it so we can give this place to Keir Starmer.
Oh, no.
Yes, well, there we go. That is, of course, not what she was really saying. She does love it, allegedly, in Downing Street. I just want to say a massive thank you to my panel tonight. We've had Lynn May, we've had Charlie Lamdin, thank you very much, and Aidan McGee. And to all you wonderful viewers, of course, I think the great Michelle Dewberry puts it best when she says, have a great weekend, everyone. The fantastic Mark Dolan is coming up next. First, let's get your weather with a different Aidan. Any moment now. We'll get the weather.
Hello again.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Nightmare commute. Kick it up a gear with me, Patrick Christys, at drive time, 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News Radio. You can listen online and on DAB+, on the smart speaker app and on the GB News app. And if you've got an Alexa, all you have to say is, Alexa, play GB News. We're also on